And people that say, oh, well, that guy went bankrupt a few times and then he became a big success, they've not been through bankruptcy. Believe me, going through bankruptcy is deeply personally troubling and it hurts your pride tremendously. I would say your failures are what makes you as a person. Failure is a great thing as long as you learn from it. If you don't learn from it, then failure's nothing but bad. There's only downside there. The key to success is learning from your failures.
Welcome to the Agri-Tech. We'll bring you all things science, engineering, technology, and innovation. Today we are joined by Jody Durand, a farmer, sales expert, and author whose journey is a powerful testament to resilience and adapting to change. Born and raised on a farm, Jody has owned and operated several agricultural businesses and spent over 20 years in sales roles within the animal health and feed industry, giving him a frontline in view of technology's role in modern farming. After facing profound personal and professional setback, uh, including loss and bankruptcy, he channeled his experience into writing his autobiography, Country Boy Soul. The book explores mental resilience, the importance of perseverance, and finding joy in work. Lessons forged through struggle and deep connection to the land. Jody brings a unique practical perspective on sales, sustainability, and the human side of agricultural innovation. So, Jody, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Ezekiel. That's a fantastic introduction. I don't even know if it's me for sure you're talking about. I feel tired already.
Wow. Well, that's great. All right. So let's start at the beginning, Jody. So from your frontline work in animal health, what is the single biggest positive change that you've seen technology bring to modern farming?
So from the animal health perspective, what is the number one piece of technology that's really moved things forward rapidly? Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah.
Yes. Sure. So I'm lucky enough to have been a farmer. I have also been a salesperson selling to farmers. And now I'm a person that works with a lot of salespersons that are selling to farmers. So I have a really nice perspective on what actually works in the agricultural world. And from my experience in the last 30 or 35 or 40 years, the use of vaccines has certainly really improved the health and welfare of animals. It's reduced our reliance on antibiotics to take care of health. Certainly, that would be probably one of the big things that, from the animal health perspective, has really improved modern farming, animal welfare, our carbon footprint, and overall well-being of the planet. I would say from the animal agriculture side of things, genetics have improved so incredibly in the last 35 or 40 years, from every aspect of agriculture, from dairy cows to pigs to chickens to beef cattle to everything. And when I say genetic improvements, let me give you a few examples. 40 years ago, it would take uh, twice as much feed as it does now to grow a chicken that is about 4 pounds. So to grow a 4-pound chicken 40 years ago required 9 pounds of feed. Now it requires, about 10 pounds of feed. Now it requires about 5 pounds of feed. So, or if you want to talk in kilograms, 4 kilograms versus 2 kilograms to produce a 2-kilogram bird. That is an astounding improvement. That's astounding. The way it's going, we're going to take no feed to grow a chicken because genetics can constantly improve. From the pig side of things, 40 years ago, one mother sow would give birth to probably 18 or 20 piglets in a year. So she would have 2 litters of 8 or 9 or 10 piglets, and then maybe raise 16 of those piglets to become market hogs and go and be made into bacon and pork chops and sausage. 40 years later, that same mother sow is longer, has more teats because genetic selection is allowed for that. And now she can produce 35 pigs per year. She'll give birth 2.5 times to 15 or more pigs in each litter and raise 30 of those pigs. So that is, again, an unbelievable improvement in 40 years. The dairy cows are the same. I don't know the stats off the top of my head, but it's about the same thing. It's about 2x performance from 40 years ago. On the cropping side of things, as far as genetics, of course, everybody knows about genetic modification, and that's a buzzword in the world today. Some people are very anti genetic modification. I would not be one of those people. These seed companies in the world that are producing seed corn and seed soybeans and seed wheat and all these products that we use to grow corn and soybeans and wheat, they have, through their own technology, again, produced twice as much as you normally would from the same seed. So when you planted 30,000 seeds of corn in 1985, you got 120 bushels to the acre of corn. Now you're getting 240 bushels to the acre of corn. Also, with genetic modification, 40 years ago, you had to use 10 pounds of herbicide to kill the weeds, to control the weeds in order to produce a crop. Because of genetic modification, now we're able to use 1 pound of herbicide to control all the weeds for that crop. Again, none of this is possible without technology. So as much as people are afraid of technology, I understand technology can be scary, but on the agricultural side of things, it's revolutionized the way we produce food. And in today's world, reducing the carbon footprint is everything. So you can imagine when you had sows 20 years or 40 years ago producing 15 pigs, now they're producing 30. You've just halved your carbon footprint. And that doesn't even account the fact that all of the genetics also have improved their ability to convert feed or their feed conversion, which means if you eat feed, you produce muscle. And 40 years ago, it took twice as much feed to produce that muscle. So how's that for an answer?
Yeah, it was quite a great response, and the technological improvements over these decades is actually mind-blowing. And I think that should encourage everyone to actually look on the positive side of technology and its application in agriculture. So tell us, Jody, on the flip side, what's the most concerning trend or misuse of technology, like antibiotics, that you've observed farmers facing today?
Yeah, I mean, misuse is maybe the wrong term, but um, the thing is, if you're a livestock farmer and a true livestock farmer, this has happened to you in your life. This very situation I'm going to describe right now. You will have a cow or a pig or a sheep or a goat that is worth $50. And you will spend more than $50 in medication or time trying to keep that animal alive. And that is a misuse of resources in the sense that we don't have unlimited resources for these animals. Part of your job as a farmer is to treat animals humanely, and sometimes the most humane thing to do for animals is to let them die or euthanize them. And that is a problem that I see probably more often than not, where farmers will go overboard trying to keep every animal alive because it's not fun killing animals. It's not fun to pull dead animals out of your barn. It hurts profitability, of course, but it also hurts your heart. And so I would say that would be one thing where I see uh, misuse isn't the right word really, but I would say a downside of modern technology. Because if you didn't have these medicines, well then farmers wouldn't have any other options but to let them die. But because we have these medicines and all these tools in the toolbox, there's not a farmer alive that's more than willing to reach into his own pocket to try to save this animal, even if it costs him money, because he just wants to save animals. That's what we're wired for. As an ex-farmer, I can tell you that we're wired to to keep animals alive at any cost. There's no other reason why you would be standing out in a blizzard trying to hook a generator up to make sure your animals have electricity so they have heat and water. You're not doing that for any other reason but you care. And it's not fun to be standing in a blizzard hooking a generator up to get power to those barns, but you do it because it's the right thing to do. It's what you call being a caretaker. So there you go.
Fantastic. So tell us, Jody, you've mentioned a mathematical success equation for seal
Right.
sources. So for the engineers listening, what's the most important variable in that equation, and tell us why? Of course, you'd have to tell us about the mathematical equation in the first place. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So the mathematical equation of success is something I created. I should trademark that, but anyway, what it really means is, and engineers will understand this. If this is a funnel, and you're funneling down, in the bottom of the funnel where your results come out are sales, you have to feed that funnel with a lot of activities. Let's call them. Those activities include making phone calls, texting people, having face-to-face visits, having Zoom calls, going to meetings and presenting your information that you want to sell to farmers. All of those things generate leads that hopefully from the top of the funnel, the leads turn into opportunities to sit down and share information in a more detailed manner. So that would be the sharing phase or the second phase. So now your funnel has gotten smaller and you've shrunk 100 calls into 10 calls. So now you've got 10 calls to sit down and share information. And so the engineers are like 100 divided by 10, that's 10%. Okay, you can see that. And now you're in the sharing phase. So now that once you're sitting down and sharing and you've got information and you're building understanding, at that point in the call phase or in the funnel, you're connecting. So now we're going to connect directly with the producer or with your customer, your potential prospect, and you're going to offer them a specific solution for their farm because now you've gotten more information from them because you've been able to share and receive and give information. So that is the connecting portion of the sales funnel, okay, so to speak, the mathematical equation of success. So we've gone from 100 to 10, and now we're into the sharing, which is probably, or the connecting, which is probably 5 or 4. And now we're to the last portion, or the second last portion of the funnel, which is closing, which is, hey, Ezekiel, I want you to buy my feed program. Hey, Ezekiel, I want you to buy my seed. I want you to buy my genetic package. I want you to buy something from me. That is called closing. I'm trying to close the sale to seal the deal. So of those 100 leads that you started with, now you're down to 2. You've got 2 opportunities to actually ask because you can't skip the process and go from the 100 to 2 instantly. You have to work through all the phases, kind of like filters, to shrink down to those opportunities when you get those 2 closing opportunities. Now we've got those 2 closing opportunities, and the very best salesman in the world might be able to close half of them. So let's say I'm that guy because I wrote the mathematical equation of success. So now I got 1 sale. So now the bottom of the funnel, and it's not quite done yet though, because I've got that 1 sale, I've closed, I've succeeded, I've got the sale, but now they have to reorder again the next month or the next year. And then you actually have a customer. And that's the end of the funnel. That's a mathematical equation of success. So why do we call it that? It's
Well,
because some people are able to do 50 calls and get one sale. Some people need to do 500 calls to get one sale. The mathematics come in to play because in the end of the day, all we want is that one sale. We don't get paid to make calls. We get paid to make sales. So the math comes into how many calls you got to make, and that's really what the question is.
it's really interesting. Such a great equation. I mean, looking at it from an engineer's perspective, yeah. So tell us, Jody, how can a technical professional who may be more comfortable with data than people actually apply that sales formula to better communicate their own ideas?
That's an excellent question, Ezekiel. Actually, sales is probably the wrong thing to describe in that process. Really, all sales is about is influence. It's my ability to influence you, the prospect, into buying what I'm trying to sell. But influence happens in all aspects of life, whether you're a dad, you're a boss, you're a teacher, you're a crossing guard, you're a policeman. Your job is to influence other people around you to do what you want or to buy your message or to learn what you're teaching them. So a person that is more comfortable with data than they are with communicating messages and trying to influence, you have to practice. You have to practice. And I guess the most important thing that I would say, if I had to give one piece of advice, would be to try to make sure what you're trying to influence people with is something they actually need. There's absolutely no sense in Ezekiel and I creating a company. Let's say we're gonna make an ice cube company and we're gonna go sell ice cubes in the North Pole. And it might be the best ice cube company in the whole wide world. Nobody's got ice cubes like Ezekiel and Jody's ice cubes. But we don't need ice cubes in the North Pole. So there's just no sense even bringing that influence and that sales uh, a potential to the market because it's never going to sell. So the first and most important question to ask yourself, Mr. I'm not really comfortable with people, but I like data is, do people actually care about what you are presenting? And is it important? And if you know it's important, but they don't know, well, then you need to craft your message a little bit better. It's almost like a feature benefit thing. The feature of this truck I'm sitting in is it has cruise control, which allows me to push a button and my speed stays exactly the same number. So if I press it at 100 kilometers an hour, I stay at 100 kilometers an hour. Who really cares? Who cares? I don't care. Well, you will care, Ezekiel, if you're driving and you don't use cruise control and your speed goes to 110 and the speed limit is 100 and you get a ticket. Or you will care if you said, I bought this vehicle and it's supposed to get 50 miles to the gallon, let's say, but that's only based on going 90 kilometers an hour. Well, then you better go 90. Well, the only way you can go 90 all the time is to press cruise control. Feature, benefit, feature, benefit.
Oh, well, that's amazing. So, tell us, Jody, what's the most counterintuitive lesson about true sustainability that you learned on the farm that an engineer designing an agri-tech might not actually consider?
Right. Um, the reason I'm laughing is a lot of farmers, when they're working on equipment, they always say, who the hell designed this thing? Geez, they never had to work on it, obviously. So yeah, that would be the point. One of the things that I find interesting is oftentimes companies will come with a come with a solution to the marketplace that is so difficult to apply because it's not simple that it fails. It's a wonderful idea, but it's just too complicated. And that sounds pretty bad for an engineer who's gone through a lot of trouble to create something that's fabulous. But if it's so damn complicated that it really can't be done, and when I say complicated, I mean this is pretty basic, but I kind of go by the rule that if a child in grade 6 can understand what I'm selling and understand the process kind of relatively, then there's a chance it'll work. If you have to rely on a university education to get your program or your idea or your solution to work, it's probably doomed to fail. I mean, unless you have a really tiny market and it doesn't matter. But if you want something to work for the masses, make it simple. Make it something that's understandable that a grade 6 could understand, I would say. And for all my cash cropper farmers out there who are maybe watching this, also go work on the tractors that you're designing, because when you can't reach that oil filter because there's 16 things in the way and you can't get your arm in there, you should do it. And then you wouldn't design things that they weren't easy to work on.
Fantastic. So, how did the principles of resilience that you learned from farming, like patience and adapting to seasons, directly help you build after your darkest moments?
Oh, that is a deep question, sir. Um, yeah, I think in order to be a farmer, you have to be optimistic. You always have to think that it's going to be better tomorrow. The price is going to go up tomorrow. The disease problem in my barn is going to get better tomorrow. It'll rain tomorrow, or it'll be sunny tomorrow. There's always got to be something to look forward to. You have to be optimistic. I think you're kind of born that way. If you're not born that way, it's going to be a hard job for you to achieve success in, and that really is for farmers or any business owners, because resilience is a learned skill. It really is. So I wish I could say I could come with a really fabulous, pillowy word solution that would really astonish the listeners. But I got to be honest, the way I learn things is the hard way, is unfortunately the hard way. And that is trial and error and focus on success. Um, what I find quite interesting in today's world is, and maybe it's social media, but everything looks easy when you see it on a commercial on TV, or you see it on social media, or somebody's that's a celebrity is showing you how it works. It's not easy. Things are usually not that easy. And so you have to learn on your own terms, and you have to focus on learning. And that's the thing, is people don't want to do that. They want an easy way. And when it doesn't go easy, they give up. And you just have to keep trying. I mean, uh, there's really no other way to say it. I don't think there is an easy way. I mean, some people are just naturally gifted and they can pick up a hammer and become excellent at construction, but it's pretty rare. Generally speaking, when you see those people and you're like, well, you're a natural. Well, they're a natural because they practice. So how did I get to be good at sales? Trial and error. Trial and error. I started out, I didn't know what I was doing, but I just worked at it, focused at it, refined my skills, started to determine trends that worked, un unpacked those trends and said, what exactly specifically does work? And I'm talking about things like, what day of the week do you want to do prospecting? If the day of the week you want to do prospecting is the day you're at your lowest energy, or you're grumpy, or the people you're calling are busy, it's not going to work. Find the day of the week. For me, that day is Friday. Why? Because Friday's the end of the week. I'm going to have my weekend shortly. People that you're calling are generally in a good mood because it's the end of their week, and they're also kind of happy, so they're more able to listen to what you're offering, and you're more able to connect with them. So yeah, the principles of resilience for me, I learned those things because I grew up on the farm and I watched my dad and my mom go through drought, go through struggles. Um, I had a lot of personal issues that happened when I was 40 years, sorry, when I was 20 years old. I was going to farm with my father. and he was 41 years old, and our life was set. And he died of lung cancer a year later. And so sometimes resilience is created just because of the situation you're put in. And that was the situation that I was put into. It would have been extremely easy to follow my dad's footsteps and farm the same farm he worked on, and we could work together. We worked very well together, but he was gone. And my mom was not in a position to stay and help me. So I had to learn, the saying birth by fire. Well, that was it. I just got thrown into the fire and I had to survive. So I figured it out on my own. I didn't know how to change an electrical plug in the barn. I got shocked. And then I learned how to change the electrical plug. I didn't know how to deal with suppliers. I learned the hard way. All these things. I just learned. But how did I learn? I focused and I stayed with it.
That's really interesting. So, tell us, Jody, when you faced bankruptcy and loss, so what was the first small practical step you took to start rebuilding, and why did it work?
Hmm. When you Yeah, and I don't know about every country in the world, but bankruptcy basically it does two things. One, it absolves you from your debts. So on the upside, if you have had creditors chasing you for money or people that you've owed money to that were putting pressure on you to pay them, once you declare bankruptcy, it's like washing a white board clean. There's nothing left there and it's a fresh start. That is the upside to it. The downside to it is it's devastating to yourself personally because there's no other way to say it. You can't sugarcoat it. It's a failure. And people that say, oh, well, that guy went bankrupt a few times and then he became a big success, they've not been through bankruptcy. Believe me, going through bankruptcy is deeply personally troubling and it hurts your pride tremendously because there's nothing there's nothing really fantastic about it because what you ended up really admitting is whatever you were doing at the time didn't work and it failed and you had no option but to pull the emergency brake and get out. And I'm sorry, that's not a great way to go through life. What we should do is create a plan that's successful, stick with it, and become success, and not have to do the trapdoor, get out of jail free card by doing bankruptcy. So, how did I get through it? There was no choice but to get through it. Really, again, it's your question on resilience. Sometimes the environment you're put into forces you to be resilient. Well, I had four kids under 14 years old. I had to feed them. I had a wife. I had a house that we needed to live our lives normally. So I had no other choice but to force myself to push forward. I kept working, earning money, trying to find my path back. And I also relied heavily on my family. So my family was of a great assistance to me. Yeah, that's how and my faith. I don't think I could have made it through without having a higher power to call upon. And I know that there's probably an engineer out there that thinks that's nonsense, but that helped me. So that's my story.
Great. For a young professional facing major setback today, what is your one piece of hard-won advice for getting back on track?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it is, again, it's very easy to sit here now on this side of failure because now I'm a success. Failures are like tempering steel. You have to harden it. You heat up steel, then you dip it in the cold water, and then you heat it up again and dip it in the cold water. Well, that's what failures are like. Failures are like you ride up and then you crash. You ride up and then you crash. The difference between people that are successful and people that continue to fail is this: failure is a great thing as long as you learn from it. If you don't learn from it, then failure's nothing but bad. There's only downside there. The key to success is learning from your failures. And again, that's very easy to say, but you have to unpack things, and that would require some self-analysis, or maybe better is other people to tell you the truth. And in my case, when I was going through my call center and before I went bankrupt, I met with my financial planner. And at that point, I was so all in that I was going to make this work no matter what, that I didn't want to hear anything but forward, push forward, keep working, keep investing money. I don't care if I have no money left. I'm going to dig my hole deeper because I'm going to make this successful. It was her that told me, Jody, you don't have to keep doing this. You can stop. And it dawned on me for a second there. She's right. I do have other options in my life. I don't have to make this my forever thing. I didn't take her advice. I kept in my life where I should have listened to her, and I may have reduced the effect of the crash, but I still crashed. But that would be my advice. Failures are part of success. It's just you got to learn from your failures. That's all.
Great. That's really great advice you just gave here. So, tell us, what was the catalyst that made you decide to write down your story in your book, The Country Boy Soul? So, tell us about your book.
So my book's an autobiography about my life, probably until 2005. So people would ask me, why didn't you write the book in 2005? Because like the person that's failing, I was still in the failure. I wasn't happy with things. I wasn't proud of things. I certainly had nothing to celebrate. But my life since 2005 has been quite an astonishing turnaround. So why did I write the book? I wrote the book for people that are struggling with life issues. And everybody that's on the planet Earth is going to have life issues at some point. I don't care who you are. You're going to suffer family loss, financial loss, spiritual loss, physical loss. You're going to have loss in your life. You're going to have things that happen to you, and you're going to have to come back from it. And the number one thing that feedback I've gotten from people, especially men who have read the book or listened to the book on Audible, is it inspired me, Jody, to keep pushing forward. Or more refreshing almost is, man, I recognized myself in you. I recognize that I struggled, and I'm so glad that you shared your vulnerable story, because now I can tell you my story, Jody. And then they turn around and they tell me their struggles, because otherwise they wouldn't. Because what do men do? We smile, we work hard, we push forward. Everything's great all the time. That's not the world we live in. Nothing is great all the time. People struggle, and it's better to share your issues with each other and your friends and family and get support and work through these things than to suck it all up, push it all down, and push forward, because all it does is make the problems worse. And men in particular struggle with this issue. So yeah, that's to me is the most refreshing aspect of the book. And that's really the reason I wrote it, is for other people to read it and see, wow, I know that guy. He's just a normal guy. He made it through all that. Man, maybe I can make it through the struggle I'm going through. That's it.
Wonderful. That's an inspiring one. So, tell us, what do you hope a reader, especially a young person, let's say from a rural background, takes from away from reading your book?
Well, my book's real life. One of the reviews that I received was, this is a book about life, real life, not made up social media life. So I'm going to go on a bit of a social media rant here, Ezekiel, but social media in one obviously is allowed us to stay connected with people that we don't see physically very often. And that's a lovely thing. It's nice to see Ezekiel have another birthday party, and his sister showed up, and he's got a nice little kid that's 3 years old now, and that's all great. The downside is oftentimes we don't use social media for anything but celebrating our victories and showing everybody how great things are, when the truth is things aren't that great. And things aren't that great all the time. So the downside to social media is it creates a fake world. And younger people, people less than 30, live totally immersed in that world. And you can look at that world every day on your Instagram, on your TikTok, on your Facebook, on whatever social media platform you look at and think, I'm a loser because I'm not going to Hawaii with my friends. I'm not graduating from university. I've got nothing going on good in my life. And a depression sets in, and you don't look for opportunities anymore, and your outlook changes. And I think that's the greatest, most difficult aspect of social media is it creates a false illusion of everybody's happy in the world, and it's just not the case. Nobody puts on social media, they just got fired. I gained 50 pounds. I started smoking again. My wife left me. My kid just got put in jail. Nobody puts that stuff on social media, but that is what life's all about. It's unfortunate. And I'm not saying to people you have to post every bad story out there. Nobody wants to read every bad story, but every once in a while on my social media, I will post some stupid thing that I did, like when I left the gas tank open on my lawnmower and it rained an inch overnight, and now I have to take care of that problem because I got water in my gas tank. Why'd that happen? Because three bees stung me and I was freaked out and I ran in the house like a little boy crying, and now I have to drain my gas tank. And it's kind of a funny story, but it's kind of a balance in the world.
It's really amazing. So, Jody, part of the theme of this podcast is centered around innovation. So, for that reason, I like to ask every guest I interview here on the show one common question. So, tell us, what does innovation mean to you, and how does it relate to your field in the context of farming and feeding the world?
Yeah, innovation to me, uh, and really in today's environment is perfect. It's reducing your carbon footprint. It's doing more with less. That's it in a nutshell. It's doing more with less, getting more grain, getting more meat, getting more milk, getting more eggs with less resources. That's it. That's innovation in my
Wow, that's a really interesting one. Doing more with less. All right, Jody. So finally, tell us where can our listeners, maybe contact you or go find your book, Country Boy
There it is.
Soul, and learn more about your journey.
There's a book here. You can buy it on Amazon. It's available as Kindle, as Audible, as a hardcover, as softcover. You can reach out to me on YouTube, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. And if you buy the book, my cell phone number's right in there. I'd love to talk about mental health and resilience. I have a couple of speaking engagements this week to talk to a group of professionals about mental health and resilience because it is becoming a greater and greater issue here in our society as we become more social media and phone focused, and we gather less socially. There's less belly to belly contact. It's very easy to hide in your world. I sent Ezekiel a text. How's it going? Fine. How do I know it's not fine? You said it was fine. Sounds good to me. I'm busy. I'll text my next friend. So that's it.
Great. So, Jody, it's been a really awesome conversation with you, and I am excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much, Ezekiel. It's been a real pleasure.